everybody, welcome back to Bitch with Comrade Misty. I am Comrade Misty. There's a lot to complain about today. It was a Julian Assange day. Things did not go well, so we're going to be talking about that for sure. And with me this week to bitch, I hope we're going to have Dontell, who is unapologetic YT on Twitter. I hope he's going to be joining us. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. He had problems with StreamYards last time or whatever. So, but we do have JB, host of the JB show from Fred Hampton Leftist. And then we also have Compton J. And what's the name of your
Straight
Out of Politics?
Straight Out of Politics, yeah.
I don't know why I can't remember that. And then, of course, we have RJ, who's the host of Revolutionary Jargon, all from Fred Hampton Leftist. And actually, JB just interviewed Cornel West. And yes, it was awesome. It's a great interview. You should definitely go check that out.
He just watched it. He dressed up all nice and stuff, but don't think I didn't notice that, JB. Like,
RJ was just giving him the same shit.
I was like, that's JB with the fresh haircut.
Y'all, RJ, before we started, RJ
did he shave?
Yeah.
You shaved too, JB?
Yes, he did all of that.
He see, now where is hold on. Let me pull a JB. Now where is this on FHL normally?
I know.
Where is this? He getting all special for Cornel West, but not for us.
Oh, JB's getting called out. I love every second of this.
Oh man, these guys.
What's your? Come on, man. Explain yourself. Explain yourself.
These guys are never gonna let this go. This is gonna be
never
private chat and everything.
Yes. Like Cardi B said, what was the reason? What was the reason?
We need a hashtag and a meme.
Hey man, look, I'm just trying to emulate my brothers here whenever they get on. I'm trying to be like them.
Yeah,
that's all.
We noticed it. Like, we definitely noticed it. Nick too. We didn't know. We noticed the shave down beard.
You guys did have like your nice collar shirts on.
Yeah, it was definitely
all pressed. It was cute. It was cute, and you guys did a great job. Seriously, that was a great interview.
I should have put on a bow tie and been up there with Dr. Cornel West. Like,
why not? My friend Andrew would have showed up in his bowler hat for sure, and his vest, 100%. I thought it was awesome. Yeah, next time get super dressed up though. Challenge accepted, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. All right. I think that would be amazing. Okay, so if you guys don't mind, I would like to bitch about Assange for a little bit and just what happened today. We just did this on Jay's show, but I would like to do it a little bit more because I'm really pissed off about it. So today, what happened was there was a preliminary hearing in the appeal. So basically, what happened was the judge. There were 5 different what's the word I'm looking for? Counts, I guess, that they could request extradition, and she had said that they could have a partial appeal, which is just addressing 3 of the points out of the 5, and the 2 that were not were based on his mental health. So they appealed that decision, and the judge today overturned that. So now they can appeal the judge's no extradition ruling on all counts, including the mental health aspect. So this just puts Julian in even more jeopardy. There's even a bigger likelihood now that he could be extradited. They now have more ways to go about getting him. And we shouldn't even be having this conversation. He shouldn't be in prison. It's absurd that he's in prison, you guys.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say at this point. I was telling Jay earlier, the amount of human rights abuses, the fact that he was spied on, his conversations with his lawyers were spied on, that alone should have the case thrown out the window. The fact that that's the thing that happened, and that there's a court case in Spain where evidence has been introduced to a court of law showing that that's the case. Sheldon Adelson was involved and the CIA was involved. And he's still in prison.
What exactly are his lawyers saying? Like when these rulings come out, like what are they allowed to even speak to the press or give
to a certain degree, they have to be mindful of what they say because it's still an ongoing case. Right. But I mean, it's a hot mess. I don't know how this is continuing. I really don't. Right. It's just,
it's to me, it's disturbing, but like we were saying earlier, I think it's just shows the reach of the United States, because if this was just, some random person maybe who didn't do something against the United States, but he was America's most wanted, I don't think it would be this much involvement, like this much
No, this is a
push to
special
get
case.
him.
There's like a certain level of
It seems like animosity, though. It seems
kind
to
of
me
he's just being used. Like I said earlier, he's kind of being used. He just happens to be the guy who they're going to use to take away press freedoms. Like he's the example that they're using. And it's kind of working in a multitude of ways. They're charging him with stuff that sets like a crazy legal precedent, but then they're also kind of manufacturing a consent for this what they're doing. And so that's, you know, it's like an attack on information, like just in general. And it's really fucked up and it's getting worse. I mean,
yeah. And you were saying the next step is like the court date where they're going to actually now have the opportunity to appeal on 5 different grounds, and that's already around the corner. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know.
You like. How long has he been in front of this judge? Like, do you get a sense that this judge is impartial, or is even really,
none of them are?
None of them are.
None of them are.
I'm just trying to get a sense of like what sort of hope do
we need mass public pressure. If enough people start paying attention and start saying, no, fuck off, we're not doing this, it would stop. That's the only thing that will make it stop. That's why I keep trying to beg people to get involved on some level, do something. Like we need to do something. Even if it's just like writing emails.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I think we have to spread more awareness, because the thing is nobody's talking, like nobody's asking about it. So if the press isn't asking about it and the politicians are, you know, mum's the word, you get what I'm saying? Like how do people even find out about it to be aware, because I think if people knew, they would be outraged. It's just that, you know, there's an information block, and we know that it's intentional.
Yeah. We just need people to talk, like, especially one-on-one in person, like talking to your neighbors and your friends, because it's so much easier to have in-person conversations than to do something online. Like online can be effective too. I mean, obviously I use it all the time. But I think that like, we really need to start talking to people, and I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know how to get people to care. I don't know how, like, if there's so much going on, I don't even blame people for not having the time to care. But this is a big one.
Yeah, I think like to your point, people like with the pandemic, but it could be part of the distraction game. Like everything is a distraction from what's really going on. And this WikiLeaks thing, because it's just one of the things. So I'm not saying,
sorry to interrupt, but Unapologetic is here.
Oh, where?
Okay, let's bring him in.
I just can't. I have to scroll down. I didn't see him.
What's
up, Dontell?
Hey, everybody. I've been watching basically this whole time. Yeah.
Have you? I couldn't see you. Because it's like I'd have to scroll down. Hey.
Hey, what's up?
So this is Dontell, everybody. He's unapologetic on YouTube's.
He has a 5-second delay, so give him like 5 seconds before you talk again. He has like a 5-second delay.
So you find me.
Oh, he has to catch up. Okay.
Bummer.
Oh, okay.
I feel bad. Bad internet's terrible. That's terrible.
Uh-oh, I think he's frozen now.
Yeah, he is.
He'll come back.
Nope,
no, there he
So
goes.
you want me to jump into the conversation? Because I was listening the whole time.
You're freezing up. You're freezing up.
Freezing up a little bit.
So we'll have to see how it goes. But somebody did just mention Pasta and Fee's debate with Matt Binder. Did you guys watch that?
I'm just gonna do audio on.
Oh, maybe that'll help.
Yeah, maybe that'll help. You're still freezing up. Yeah, your audio is still freezing up pretty bit. Oh, all right then.
Maybe he'll come back better. He'll come back stronger.
We're doing it live, bitches.
Build back better. Build back better.
Anyways, we can move on from Assange, though. I just wanted to bitch about that a little bit because it just happened today, and I'm really pissed off about it. I'm mad that we even have to be here having this conversation. Kevin Gastola, when we interviewed him one time, what's that movie? I don't even remember the movie he said it was from, but something like we shouldn't even be here. And that's how I feel every time there's a freaking Assange something, because we shouldn't even be here. He should be free. We should be, imagine a world if we held war criminals accountable and celebrated our truth tellers. Like, how dope would that be if we could do that?
Nice. Yes.
You know, like George W. Bush should be in prison. Julian Assange should not. Barack Obama should be in prison. Julian Assange should not. You know what I'm saying? Like Dick Cheney should be in prison. Julian Assange should not. And it's really fucking frustrating that there's 2 of them down here now. Oh, wait. Hold on.
Yeah, that's what I was just. It just got a little sign that said that.
Oh. Yeah. So, you know, I'm just over.
Was he doing a little dance there? You doing a little dance?
That's what it looked like. That's absolutely what it looked like.
Oh, dude. He's having like the worst luck.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, it should be better now.
I think his audio, yeah.
Audio
only.
So
his audio only sounds a lot clearer. Yeah.
All right. So, I've been listening to the conversation, and it, like Misty, you've been saying, it's kind of crazy because no matter how much this case is debunked, how much is disproven, how shitty the case that the U.S. is presenting, it just keeps going their way. And of course, the extradition was originally denied, but the fact that this case has been in limbo and Julian Assange has been sitting in prison since January is outrageous. And now that
since April of 2019.
Well, true.
But then since the extradition.
Since the extradition was denied, it's crazy that they've had him sitting in limbo this whole time, and now they're going to greenlight a whole other, like, the appeal to the process, and it's
deny him bail,
yes.
and say and the screwdriver to the gut is out of respect for the U.S. prosecutors. Are you kidding me? So out of respect for the U.S. prosecutors, we're gonna go ahead and not have you have bail. Like, that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous that they get respect. Like, we have it so backwards. We elevate the worst among us to positions of power, and then the people that expose them, we demonize and ostracize. You know, like we always do that every time. It would be cool if we'd stop doing that. Start honoring our truth tellers. Start listening to them, and
absolutely
stop elevating these absolute psychopaths to positions of power.
Psychopaths elevate psychopaths, though, you know.
I know. That's why the whole system.
That's who elevates.
The whole system's got to go. We got to start over. We do. Anyway, so did anybody watch the debate with Pasta and Fee, and then that Matt dude from, I don't even know where he's from, Majority Report, maybe? Is that right? I don't know.
I haven't watched it. I've been busy. I
saw like a couple clips. I think like I saw when Fee, I caught the last part of it because Steve said that Fee was like destroying him. So I don't know how far I came, but she was killing him. Yeah.
Did you check it out, JB? Or did you get a chance to check it out, JB?
No, I have not. I have to check it out.
JB's tired today, so
dialysis is rough, so but
what about, is one hell of a machine.
We should drop your, do you still have your what's it called, your link for your GoFundMe? Why couldn't I think of that word?
I do.
Okay, we need to help each other out. That's all we got.
Yeah, let's get that out there.
Yep, I'm gonna look it up right now.
Thank you.
What else is going on for you, Misty, on Twitter? What have you been seeing?
For what?
For anything?
Twitter?
I'm wondering what's going on Twitter. Like, what's going on? Like, for you, like, what are you seeing in your feed? On this day, like, what are you seeing?
Just a lot of Assange stuff for me, obviously. But yeah. Also, I can't do two technologically related things at once and talk. I'm really bad at that. I have to focus like really hard.
I mean, I could
go ahead.
Yeah, there were some things that I haven't been big on Twitter over the last couple of days. Been busy. But last couple of things that I've like come across with like the infrastructure bill, which is complete shit, doesn't go anywhere near far enough, and
but it's bipartisan.
It's Yeah, it's bipartisan, right? And it's great because Bernie Sanders supports it and AOC supports it, and they got all the good stuff in there apparently. And it's not. Of course, they passed the like the first vote for the bipartisan package, and it's like $1.5 trillion. And everybody was bragging about the stuff that's supposed to be in the budget reconciliation package, but what I really don't understand is why is it when Bernie Sanders is at the height of power in his career, and he's literally, this is the second major piece of legislation that he's had the opportunity to write in the Biden administration, and he still won't do anything. He won't push Joe Biden, and he won't include anything in these pieces of legislation that Joe Biden doesn't already agree to. So, I mean, people are cheering about, Medicaid
they're not getting
expansion.
anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like crumbs. It's crumbs. They're offering you crumbs. Oh, it pisses me off, you guys. And then they want you to clap. They want you to clap and cheer for some fucking crumbs. Right. Are you kidding me? And then I get yelled at because that makes me angry. And I get told that I'm being, fuck off, dude. No, these are people who have the power to actually do some things for people. Like this isn't, they can do that. Like they have that ability. It's a political choice to not. So no, I'm not going to just like clap for the crumbs. Fuck out of here.
And what was the amount that they were saying we needed to have before all the negotiations kind of started? I thought they were talking about like 12 billion or something like that.
I don't even know. They've got.
It was a lot higher amount, and then they ended with
running. He was running on his like Green New Deal. His Senate version was supposed to be like $16 trillion over the next 10 years, and that didn't even include all like everything that needed to be done just to deal with the issue of the climate crisis alone, and it was $16 trillion because we had to upgrade all of the infrastructure across the country. You had to retrofit buildings so that they could run on green technology and build electric car charging stations across the country and switch from coal power plants to power like cities and stuff like that. So it was a massive undertaking to restructure our entire infrastructure and economy. So Bernie Sanders, when he was running for president, he had that
Oh, damn it.
You pissed off the audio gods, whatever you're saying.
But I think
it's the CIA.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I know. But I think the point that I'm trying to get to is this amount, like this is what they do. You know, we need a full course meal. They give you some croutons and then they say, why aren't you, grateful? Be grateful, you ungrateful bastard. You get what I'm saying? And that's essentially, but the problem is if the people keep eating it up and saying, yes, this fills my belly, like, what are we, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have to stop accepting this stuff is
what they're offering is an insult. I don't know who needs to hear this, but please listen to me. What they're offering you is an insult. It's an insult. The fact that we have to fight for Medicare for all in the year 2021 in the United States of America and in the middle of a global pandemic is fucking ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And that anybody's accepting of that is just bizarre to me. Like I don't know. Americans have allowed themselves to just get beaten the fuck down where, they're like, this is just the best we can do. Guess this is the best we deserve. Fuck out of here. Y'all, we built this country. And I don't mean like we, like us specifically, but the people. Nobody is more deserving of anybody else in this country. The people of this country have built this country. We all deserve a decent standard of living. You deserve to have a house. You deserve to have a job. You deserve to be able to eat, be able to go see a doctor. Like you deserve all of those things. Just by being born and being, in a human being, we have the ability to do those things. There's no reason why we shouldn't. It helps everybody. If you address the basic needs,
how are we going to pay for that?
I will fight you.
How are we going to pay for that, Misty?
I will
all these great
you.
things. That's the first things these oligarchs, these ruling class say to that is, how are we going to pay for that? I don't understand the concept of paying for something when you make the money. Like just that, just outside the realm of economics, you create the money. You get what I'm saying? So, for example, JB, let's say It's your world, your house. You know what I'm saying? And your kids. You say what goes on in the house. So you say all this monopoly money is this. Yeah. Oh, hey, Dad, but it costs this much, and that's all you got? Well, all of this money equals twice that. Like, it's you. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's you who decide what it is. So if we can't, just the concept of a country not being able to afford something is weird, because that's a business, and we're not a business.
Well, here's the thing, CJ. You're missing this, CJ. You mentioned how we're going to pay for it. Well, it's not that, how we're going to pay for it, obviously, in the infrastructure bill, there's a secret thing they passed where there's a mileage tax. So everyone who drives a car in America, that's how you're going to pay for it. That's how you're going to pay for it.
I wonder who that's going to hurt the worst. What? I don't know. Maybe poor communities of color? I don't know. Maybe guess?
Look.
But the people who why don't we tax the people we're going to call them people. They said they're people, right? Corporations are people too. So why don't we tax the people who have the money? The people who have all of the money. Why don't we stop spending $1 gazillion on military? How about that? Yes. How about we stop blowing people up for profit, and then we spend that money on healthcare and I don't know, housing. How about we do that? Let's try that for a change. And it's weird to me that makes me like some crazy hippie or some weird communist or some what pie in the sky. Why is that not the end goal? Why is not the goal of humanity is to get to a point where we can just take care of each other and everybody can have a decent standard of living, and we can work together and not blow people up and just live, cohesively and take care of the planet. And why is that not the end goal? Why am I crazy for thinking that's not the goal of the people who have all the stuff? That's because
they're psychopaths, and we elevate the worst among us to positions of power.
Here's the thing, Misty, you're missing a part. Like the Squad and Nancy Pelosi, they have a backbone now. They said that, well, if we don't get the budget reconciliation part, we're going to tank the actual infrastructure bill. So they're fighting for us, right, Misty? Like they're doing exactly what you want for force the vote. This is what they're doing. They're forcing a vote, right?
Mm-hmm. And my thing is, all right, so two things about that. First of all, with MMT, we understand that this whole idea of the government's going to run out of money, like that's not even a thing, because like CJ said, they literally print the money, so it's not like they'll ever run out of it. And then the second part of it is like, so look at the scale of the crises that we're even talking about. We're talking about a mass eviction and homelessness crisis, a scale of which we've never seen in this country. They will multiply homelessness by like 10. The healthcare crisis in this country. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and how many hundreds of millions of people don't have healthcare, can't afford to get sick in this country. That is untenable. The climate crisis, the world is literally burning. We are mid-climate apocalypse. So for anybody, especially people in positions of power whose job it is to deal with these issues, for them to turn around and say, oh, how are you going to pay for it? Like, why is that? How can that possibly be your first response? Like because to me, fixing the inevitable disaster or the current disaster, that should take precedence over anything. I don't care if it did bankrupt the country, because I would rather us try to fix a problem and spend too much money than just stop right at the gates and be like, you know what, I think it's going to cost too much. So instead of eliminating homelessness, let's just give a couple homeless people a house. Or instead of
that's what they're going to try to do.
Let's make it so that it takes 20 extra years for the planet to burn to hell. And it's just like all of this incrementalism and half measures is literally, you're just telling everybody, if you're going to die, but we're just going to let a few less of them die.
Right.
And it's a bizarre position for anybody to take.
Yeah. Agreed. No, people, that's what I'm saying. Incrementalism is killing people, and it's unacceptable. And I'm so tired of these douche canoes telling people that you have to wait and you have to be patient and you should be nicer to the Squad. No, fuck off.
Don't be a negative Nancy, Misty.
Yes, what the hell? Don't be a negative Nancy. It's not negative for me to be pissed off that people who claim to be fighting for us are
violence.
not. I know, I'm a very violent person. Clearly.
But Misty, what's unbelievable to me is how they can justify spending that on infrastructure after what just happened in Florida. After they see the collapse of saying all these people die, that was infrastructure. Now it was, more involved, but the point is that infrastructure is crumbling. So if we don't fix it, a lot of those things will be happening all across the country if we don't fix all of our infrastructure. Yeah. Now, the amount of money that they approve, literally, that amount can be just spent in California, literally. Well, and that's going to be spent over 50 states.
Mm-hmm. Interesting enough, the
Jay's coming back, by the way. He's just waiting for his Wi-Fi to reset.
Okay, perfect. Interesting enough, inside the infrastructure bill, like the amount of money states get is actually disproportional. It's not actually even as you may think.
Right.
Like specifically in my state of Michigan, like we're getting a big chunk out of the infrastructure bill for our roads and bridges, and we're technically a purple state. And, the Democrats are in power, so ways they're trying to, keep it blue or whatever. But even though we know it's nowhere near enough. Mm-hmm. So there is some feel of old school politics of picking and choosing states you believe are best suit your interests politically, try to help them in order to keep your power. So when I found that out, that was pretty shocking for me because our governor, Gretchen Whitmer, she won her election back in 2018. She was a part of the new wave resistance liberals. And so Michigan's such a weird state.
That's a trigger word for me. That resistance word just makes me like,
I know.
Yeah, Michigan's a weird state. Like we have the
Ohio's weird too. I get you.
Yes. The Midwest is wow. It's
we're weird from the opposite way though, because it's very Republican here. So it's like kind of the opposite. Like Republicans are. It's a hot mess here. It is a hot fucking mess in Ohio. It really is, legitimately.
How much is Michigan getting? What was do you remember the amount, RJ?
I can't remember the amount, but I think.
But it was a lot more than the other states.
More. Yeah. If it wasn't substantial, then Gretchen Whitmer wouldn't be bragging about how inside that bill, Michigan's getting a whole lot chunk more. I probably should have done a lot more research before I brought it up, but I think that. To me, that was pretty significant considering Michigan, the last really couple of presidential elections, there's been a really huge focus on it. And even if you look at our state legislature, it constantly goes back and forth. Like we've had Granholm, then we went to Rick Snyder, then we went to Gretchen. So it's a state that's very complex in terms of its state politics. The UP, heavily, redneck Republican, western part of Michigan, same way. Then, of course, you have the guacamole toast liberals in Ann Arbor, and and it's pretty liberal too near Detroit area as well. So it's actually a very complex state. I kind of understand where Misty is coming from with Ohio, because Ohio used to kind of be that way, but it's
Ohio is Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, and then everything else. Yeah, that's how it works. There's three cities, and
it's still a red state. Is it red turning pink, or is it?
No, it's historically a swing state. But it's only been over the last, I would say, I don't know, 3 or 4 election cycles. It's really gone pretty heavy red. And it's because you should see our state. It's gerrymandered to hell. It's in the top 10, I think, of gerrymandered states. It's ridiculous. And
where were the Democrats when all this gerrymandering went along?
I don't know.
Where were they at? What were they doing?
I don't know.
There's a thing that happened in the 2010 when the census, that kind of, and also the Democrats historically lost terribly and embarrassingly, which allowed really the Republicans to really do gerrymandering as well in terms of changing the districts. And of course, the Democrats let that happen. So, and also too, people thought there was going to be a constitutional crisis by the time of 2014 because the Republicans controlled almost 2/3 of all the state houses in the country, which is all you would need in order to have a constitutional convention to add a constitutional amendment. So that was pretty interesting as well. So across the board, you're seeing disastrous effects of that. In terms of the national picture on the presidential level, you're seeing waves of course, Arizona went blue temporarily, Georgia, some of these other states. But in terms of the state legislature, it's very much red Republican. So that's one phenomenon you're going to see continuing, especially we know that Democrats now can only hold power twice out of a decade, or Republicans, they can hold it 6 to 8. So that's basically what I've seen and what people have been seeing the last really 20 years, starting with Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton did a great job of turning the Democratic Party into another Republican Party. He really did a great job. It's like a completely corporate party now, and he's directly responsible for the shitty state of our media. Thank you very much, Bill Clinton.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time. Bill Clinton is up there as one of the worst presidents, especially legislative wise. He got a lot of
really terrible shit
that are really destroying the country. Yeah, he's really bad.
Yeah, he is really bad. And he's another one that's what it's so weird when because I'm somebody who I don't have a team. So it's really weird to me when I see people who like look up to like Barack Obama because he's a Democrat and don't understand that he's like literally not that different from George W. Bush.
Yes.
Like they're the same person. There's like a slight different, it's like a different packaging, but they're the same, kind of neocon, neoliberal sort of like weird,
Yeah, he's George W. Bush, but singing Amazing Grace.
Like the Democrats and the continuity in the Democrats and Republicans, it is just I'm like 24 years old now. I've seen like the cycle continue over and over and over again, and shit just keeps getting worse. It does not get better under Democrats, and Joe Biden is like the perfect example. All of the pearl clutching and people hair on fire about Trump, Joe Biden came in and everything that Trump is doing, he made it fucking worse.
Yes.
And what we're seeing again is the superpower of the Democrats is the ability to just brainwash the public and get them to be okay with shit that they normally would be outraged by. That's really what the Democrats, that's their whole the whole purpose that the party serves in politics.
100%. They're the party of manufacturing consent, essentially. I mean, they like manufacture their own reality. We talked about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, the NAACP actually kind of really came to the Biden administration saying there are plenty of things you can do in terms of fixing really voters' rights and voter suppression but via executive order. And of course, Joe Biden, being the Dixiecrat himself, he's refusing to do so. Mm-hmm. And one of the big Democratic strategies, I think I said it last week, but I'm kind of reiterating it again because it's actually pretty interesting. One of the big strategies they're taking is saying, well, instead of actually doing the hard work of, trying to pass voter rights and voter suppression because, the Republicans are stopping you, even though you controlled all houses of Congress and the executive branch, their idea is that they can somehow outvote voter suppression, which is pretty, idiotic. And the reason why they feel high and mighty about this strategy is because in 2020, we've seen really the Democrats, due to a global pandemic, also due to a recession or depression, and even some point a great abyss, you saw massive amounts of people absolutely desperate, or they just hated Trump and just decided to vote Democrat. And I don't really believe people are going to do it this time around, especially in 2022 or 2024, when we've seen the Democrats fail constantly at passing anything smelling progressive inside the halls of Congress, as well as vis-a-vis executive order. So the reality that they're trying to make of relying on increased voter turnout and really happiness for voters to come out and vote Democrat, they're going to get a bite in the ass. And in the result, the Democrats don't actually care because it's just a game for them because they're going to be in power. While at the same time, this perpetual cycle of voter suppression and gerrymandering just continues on. And the likelihood of you able to change that in the future, it's medicinal. It's medicinal. It's minimal. So it just makes it even, I said medicinal, fuck.
I was wondering if that's what you said.
Yeah, so just the likelihood of actually the thing changing just really decreases over time. And so really what you're doing is you have to create more of a push inside your own state in order to ensure that really voter suppression is defeated, whether as making a federal mandate. Because like I said, the Democrats only hold power 2 out of the 10 years in a decade, due to their own malfeasance, failures, and not giving a fuck. And we know the Republicans, they're great at keeping power and using cheating tactics to get it. So it actually makes it harder for really working class people to get anything, to push for anything federally. So really the only way you could do it is really statewide or your local government to try to make that push.
I partly agree with that. I agree that you're not going to vote. We're not going to vote our way out of this, and you're not going to vote your way into getting out, dealing with voter suppression. Partly because the Democrats, they're just as liable to rig shit as the Republicans. I mean, my God, anytime there's an election and they have a preferred candidate, they will pull every dirty and unethical trick to win. They will.
Democrats rig their primary so that they can make sure it's a corporate candidate that's going up against another corporate candidate, and then Republicans rig the generals.
Yeah, so
generally speaking,
it's literally voting between two bank robbers for sheriff or some shit like that. They're both gonna do the same shit no matter who wins. So if you're gonna vote for a party to solve voting rights issues, it's fundamentally opposite of what they're actually doing. So I agree with RJ when he says that it's not going to come through voting, but I think that it will come through pressure, like everything else that all the major issues that and policy changes that we need right now is going to come from pressure in the streets. And I maybe we can do like pressuring local governments too, but I do think that there's a lot of it that needs to come from the federal government, because this is a federal issue. This is an issue of people's constitutional rights and their ability to vote. So the federal government has a big jurisdiction there. But also on the topic of public pressure, I also wanted to talk about like what you guys thought about the Medicare for All marches, and what because I think that there's another one coming up too. So like, what do you guys think can be improved to maximize the pressure that's coming from the streets on the issue of Medicare for All?
Who wants to start? I usually talk too much, so I'll let somebody else go first.
I think having regular marches, regular events, I don't know what you want to call them, pep rallies, because you can call them marches. I just mean any type of event where you're promoting it, you're teaming up with organizations, having regular sort of marches. It kind of builds momentum. It's kind of like where if you're trying to, get a mob of people, you're walking through the street, you're just adding one at a time. That's kind of how I feel it's going to have to be done. Might take a little time.
I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I think really they did a great job just from starting alone. Like a lot of the people, especially the one that I worked with in Detroit, was her first time organizing a march. And so traditionally, too, the first time is going to be a rough time, but it's also beautiful because you get to meet different people, have different types of connections. And so then the second and third time around, or any time after, it'll be better to actually organize these marches. And I think really having more of like, if you're in a state that doesn't have like a lot of support, I think starting off with like a small rally or a prep rally that CJ mentioned is actually kind of a good thing. It makes it kind of like closer and sweeter. It allows people who normally wouldn't get a chance to talk unless you're a prepared speaker to actually give their stories and to actually really get some type of exposure and really explain to others who may not understand or share their same circumstances, but are just there for solidarity. So it's good to hear those stories to really inspire people to want to continue going. And so what I see for the March Medicare for All, really organization going forward and just for the movement is that, the more people you get in, the more it'll be better, and just have to really work harder at getting more exposure. And I think that's really it so far.
I think personally that the marches are okay, they're great, but Medicare for All is going to very quickly get past the point of where a march is like sufficient. It has the support, like we have the support. Just based on polling, it's like what 80% of Democrats, 88% of Democrats support it, like 50 some, like 2 or 3. I don't remember what it is. The most recent
something
polls,
like
but
that.
I mean, it has the support. So once you reach like critical mass, I think you have to move past like just a march or a parade and start making demands. Like there needs to be like an elevation of what you're doing and what you're asking for. But I think that the marches are good for now, because you're right. It does like bring the opportunity for people to come together and kind of build coalitions and meet new people and all of that stuff. And I think like we're going to have to get people accustomed to the fact that they're going to have to get in the streets for some of this stuff. It's not going to just be given to them. It's unfortunate that it's like that, because that's what the whole point of a government is, to, take care of these types of things. But that's just not how it works. So we have to make it appealing for people to come out, I think is going to be key.
But I think if you piece those two items together, I think that's a good strategy, where you do marches, for example. This is just an example, not me saying this should be exactly it. But let's say we did marches once a month or once every other month for the next 2 years till the election. And then during the campaign, we say these are the demands.
That's when you make your demands.
Right. So you're building the momentum. You're saying we're marching towards a goal. Like we have a goal. We're going to make demands on this date. But these marches is to build the coalition, to build the people so that can, you know what I mean? Like, because it needs to be some building.
I just hope that that's the direction that it heads. I hope that I just hope we can get enough people to recognize that that's what it's going to take, because that's going to be the hardest thing, because so many politicians are in office right now who are like, their whole job is to make you think that you have somebody in there who represents you. And
I don't think, Misty, I'm going to give my honest opinion. I don't think things are going to get better until more people suffer more.
I know.
That's what I think. Yeah. I don't think the pain threshold, like, Americans have been conditioned to live on crumbs so long, the pain threshold for living on crumbs is a lot higher. That's the problem. And it could be by design, that you condition a people, and it takes longer for them to fight back, and it could be by design, but it just doesn't feel like we're there. All of us, we're there, but just on the left, for example, I did a poll, and that poll indicated that if you're not talking about yourself, a lot of leftists don't have a lot of faith in other leftists that they're going to actually come out and do stuff. It was something I'll bring up the poll while it goes around the panel, but yeah, it was like something like 50% of the respondents. It was like 2,000 people who responded to the poll was like, yeah, we believe, if it's not me, I think most leftists will vote for the Democratic Party eventually within the next 5 years. Like 50% of the poll, and that was shocking to me. So what I'm basically saying is that tells me that the pain threshold is not there yet. Not until people that watch MSNBC say, okay, this is some fucked up shit here. Now it's time. You know what I mean? Not until those people start saying it. It's just not enough people, because we're ready. Like right now, all of us right here, we will be like, let's go right now. But that's not enough people. We have to face that fact that us who are ready right now is just not enough people to be effective.
Yeah, there's so much that I agree with, and so much I want to add to that you guys said. The first, let me just deal with what CJ just said right there. So I partly agree with you that it feels like the pain isn't bad enough for people to be motivated to do something. That's what it kind of feels like. But when I take a step back and look at a situation like specifically on healthcare, I can't think of a single person who, of course, unless you're extremely wealthy or very well off, I can't think of a single person who hasn't been impacted by this barbaric healthcare system. And I don't mean I went to the doctor and I thought it was going to be $15, but it ended up being $30. No,
Thousands,
had an emergency happen and I went bankrupt, or somebody in my family, they got sick and they couldn't afford to get their some tragic shit. Everybody has experienced that to some degree, and if they haven't, they're afraid of it and they see that it can happen to them at any moment. So I don't think that I think the amount of suffering that people have in this country have been subjected to, I think that's enough to motivate people and to move people. Just this pandemic alone, hundreds of thousands of people are dead, and most of that could have been avoided if we had some type of single payer healthcare system. And that's worse than any war, more casualties than any war you can imagine in U.S. history. And so I don't think that more people need to die to make that point, because if it wasn't COVID, then I don't think that's the part that's missing from the equation. And so I think what it is that people there needs to be some movement. And I don't mean, a politician we like saying Medicare for all on CNN, everybody round of applause. They're moving the Overton window. That's not what I mean. I mean, people need to see Force of O would have been a good spark. I think honestly would have been one of the biggest sparks. To have a whole national conversation on the floor of Congress about this really, because we're at a crossroads here, and it's untenable for us to keep going down this path. And I think if all the corrupt ass politicians had to come out and make that case in public and then eventually make that vote, I really think that would have mobilized a lot of people. So I think that people just need to see more movement. And then back to
we need one person, just one person to talk up.
I just don't think we're ever going to get that in the system.
Yeah, for me, the phenomenon is interesting because my family.
And like so with the marches, I don't want it to be like how Black Lives Matter went, and how it's everybody was, because we had millions of people show up in the street, but ultimately it wasn't targeted in the right ways, and there wasn't clear, concise demands and unwavering demands. So all of that just turned into like a big show that fizzled out with no real, nothing tangible. So I was always critical about that aspect of getting in the streets, just the waving the signs. But when I went out to the marches for Medicare for All, when I went out to the March for Medicare for All, and I saw the utility of people just getting together, because it's not like just waving signs. You're actually like talking to the people in the community, and you're learning about their healthcare issues and how serious it is for them, how life or death this issue is for them. And you get to build connections like this. So like Jay said, I think this should be something like, this should just be like a like the community get together. That's what I think the marches for Medicare for All should be. But then also there should be like a more militant aspect where people are showing up, and whenever a politician has some type of event, some type of photo op anywhere, like there should be crowds of people supporting Medicare for All out there and in front of the cameras and making a scene. There should be crowds of people outside these politicians' homes. Like there should be crowds of people blocking the parking lots in their offices so that nobody can come for their appointments. So like it needs to be in their face, and so that they can't avoid it. And like it disrupts business as usual. So I agree with the get together part, but I, like Misty said, I think it should be more militant, and it should be more in their face.
Yeah, that is interesting too. One thing I will add is makes it difficult for really my family, the type of politics I have to live with in terms of my immediate and extended. They're mostly blue dogs, borderline neoliberal. So if you look at back to the time of like what Dontell was talking about in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement, in terms of what happened with the George Floyd protests, you would say the most peak of what's the earliest parts of COVID during its peak when Trump was president. I've seen a lot of my liberal family members say, we have to get out and fight, fuck this guy. I'm going to hit the streets too with my kids and stuff. Like this entire energetic feel is something I've never seen before. Like in terms of the actual energy to actually, fight against the system or whatever, or what they thought they did in 2008, that's something I felt I haven't seen before. But what's interesting now is that, Uncle Joe wearing aviator sunglasses looking ice cream is in office. The entire idea of getting out there and fighting is nuclearized. Everything is rationalized. So when I engage with them, like when I explain things in a way that, hey, Joe Biden's no different than Trump, and they say, well, we have a more competent guy in office now. And it's just like, oh God, I just want to shoot myself.
He can't even form a sentence most of the time. Like he can't even form a coherent sentence. He's not more capable. He's worse than Trump. He's worse than Trump. Like I think that's just real talk. Objectively speaking, that dude is worse than Trump.
That is so funny to me. Like I just imagine RJ just saying, I will slap the shit out of you. Say that again. Like somebody said that to you. He's the more competent one.
Yeah, and also too, I have some family members who are pro Pelosi. I have some that are pro Dem.
You're killing me.
Oh no, this is like
Pelosi.
This is what I have to deal with. But I think it's interesting because by having like even friends who are Trumpers and having people on the right or those who are libertarian, I've talked to a Vietnam War vet when I was working at a job 3 years ago who was a libertarian. That was when I thought I was one 2 years ago. So ask me about my political ideology. I've been everywhere. So I think really understanding where everyone's political background is, you actually can learn about really where they're at. And then as you move farther to the left, you can kind of debunk it and kind of move them to the left as well, or at least expose the fallacies in their own ideology. So by having that experience of like talking to family members that are liberals or conservative or libertarian, I'm really the farthest left in my family, and I'm not even the farthest left on this panel. So it really shows like what you have to deal with. And I think it's just a good thing too to really have these type of conversations, because if you're able to really, like in terms of like last summer, like I finally got them to understand like, hey, the Democrats, they don't give a shit. Like, you have to fight for them. Like, a lot of the things that they would just go with, they second guess now. They may not agree with like the socialism part, like, hey, they're saying they're capitalists, they're Dems, but at least I'm getting them to second guess. See, before they wouldn't second guess. Like, think of what we lived through in 2008. Like, the entire mentality of these conservative Dems or liberal Dems is like, put your head down, hard work, we got to stick with the Dems. But if we look at what happened with COVID, if we look what happened with the George Floyd protests, a black man got murdered in 4K. Now you have a whole lot of people who are still lib, are still actually second guessing it, and at least looking at it a different way. Now, it's not moving them to the left. I'm not stupid, but at least they're second guessing the system, when before they were just relentlessly allowing themselves to get beaten down by the system. But in the end, it really doesn't make a difference if they're going to continue to really rely on the Democratic Party to save them because of their fear of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, that's what makes it very hard for me to really do my job and to really debunk them. So that's just what I have to go through. And yeah, that's just my experience.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is such a circus sideshow.
So there's from what RJ was hearing, and sorry guys, I had issues with my internet, but
you're fine, dude.
But what it sounds like is that there was a crack that was made. The George Floyd was killed. There was a crack that happened, and the thing is that crack that's there, we have to widen that gap. And one of the things that RJ's doing so eloquently to widen the gap is he continues to let people know, look, this is what the Democrats are doing every single time. And I think that conversation needs to happen. But one of the things that annoys me the most is that a lot of people, their what's the right word? Their opinion, their difference of opinion is based on inaccuracies and lies. I can understand if you have a disagreement with me based on facts, but a majority of people, their disagreement is not based on fact. I'll give you an example. We talk about how places like Cuba should be opened up and we should lift the embargoes and things like that. People say, oh, well, this person, Castro did all these terrible things, and so therefore this is why we have to have the embargo. But when you look at the facts on the ground, the actual facts, Castro was not like that. But the thing is that their belief in that is based on a lie. Same thing with healthcare. We'll talk about Medicare for all, but then everybody will say, well, they're just trying to socialize the healthcare and make the government in charge of your healthcare, which is not true at all. But the thing is that it's all based on a lie. So every single time.
Did he freeze? Oh, nope, there he is. Maybe. Are you there? He froze.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
Every single time the Democrats. Hello?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello?
Are you there?
I'm here.
This is capital. This is capitalism, right? All of our internets. This is capitalism right here.
Yeah.
We're paying money every month, but we're provided a deficient service. Yeah. We've all been there. Like I've had the same sort of glitchy problem. It's just
I had the worst internet, so I totally get it. Yeah, he's definitely freezing up though, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean,
I think he's frozen.
No, but on the internet thing, I think the U.S. literally has the worst internet in the out of the advanced countries.
100%.
I realized it first when I used to work retail, and it was like a tourist area, so people used to come from all over the world, and they're like, "How do you live here?" Like they had no cell phone service, they can't even use the internet when they can
hear me now?
Like it's like some fucking like in the Stone Ages when people come here.
Yeah, no, it is pretty bad. It is pretty terrible. And it doesn't have to be, I mean, obviously, we call ourselves the greatest country in the world. Clearly, we're not. We're getting our asses kicked. You know what I'm saying? Like in a multitude of different ways. Shit, we just got our asses kicked at the Olympics, too, if you want to
go there.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
But
I didn't watch it, but
I think the U.S. won the most medals, though.
They did. But let me get back to the point I was making earlier about because hearing some of you talk about the pain threshold made me kind of make clear in my head, kind of think more clearly of what I was trying to say. So they're like the people who are at the bottom now, the pain that they are experiencing is enough. So I said it wrong. I think there needs to be more. The number of people feeling pain needs to go up is what I'm thinking. Because for example, like let's say even on the left, there's a class divide where, there's some that are fine with a little bit of incrementalism. And I like to say what JB says, because if there is no urgency to them because there's no emergency to them. Mm-hmm. There's no urgency because there's no emergency. So the point I'm making is if even some of the left, and these would be the group of people who would be, most ready for, some sort of movement or revolution, if not even all of them are on board, that's what I'm saying. Like more people need to be convinced. And if they're not convinced by their conditions, I'm saying their conditions aren't worse enough for them to be convinced.
It's going to get bad enough. I just wish we didn't have to wait that long, because the longer we wait, the harder it's going to be.
It's going to be. Yeah. But that's what we encounter when you have people that are brainwashed by propaganda.
I know, but
like
that's why I fight so hard against it. That's why that's my fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I recognize that it affects everything.
I think that's a great point, especially when you talk about like the class divide on the left, because it is, and it's been more on display over the last couple months than I follow this stuff than I even imagined, because some of the people I had great deal of respect for, and I used to think that even if they aren't in the same class, they still get the struggle and they still like doing everything they can. They aren't doing everything they can, because at every turn, half of them are talking to like shitting on activists in the streets fighting for healthcare, and the people who aren't doing that, they're just making excuses for the people who are shitting on the activists, and they agree to that incrementalist mindset of, it's not going to happen for this election cycle, maybe not for like 3, 4, 5 election cycles, 10, 15 years from now. And for me, I think that's such a you might as well just give up and not support policy if you're going to say you're not going to fight for it for 15 years, or you don't expect any real movement to come in 15 years.
Like when AOC did the whole, I hope when my kid turns my age in 30 years that they have access to healthcare. 30 fucking years. Get the fuck out of here. Like, that's the shit that pisses me off. Like this, and what really pisses me off is that this is how they ran. This is what they ran on. AOC said, I don't care if I'm a one-term congressperson. You can make a difference in one term if you're just really bold. If you're, we got to do this now. We don't have to wait. That was her whole thing. It was her whole shtick. And then she doesn't do it. And then I'm the asshole for calling her out. Okay. Like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That's the thing that they ran on. And that's what needs to happen. Like,
because you're the weird one, Misty. You are the weird one when you say you expect a politician to follow through. In our political system, that is weird.
It is weird.
It is weird to have that expectation. It's totally weird to have that expectation. So everybody's looking at you like, you expected him to do that? Really?
We have this so fucking backwards. Like, we have this so backwards. You're fangirling over politicians, asshole. Stop doing that. They're politicians.
That's so weird.
And it's like, the level
I think that started with Ronald Reagan. Somebody told me that. It must have, because I don't recall.
Bill Clinton made it worse. Bill Clinton definitely made it worse.
Maybe JFK
Obama made JFK too. I think it's always been kind of, you're the president. Of course, there's going to be like a certain certain level of, you know, drama to it or whatever. But, you know, I think that I call them celebriticians. We've celebritized our politicians. You know what I mean? They're not politicians anymore. They're just like, they're like movie stars, they're actresses. And it's really fucking weird.
It's more to me. I think
the way that we view politicians has been so distorted, and it's like so removed from what they actually should be doing. Like, they're just these talking heads who never want to take a stand on anything, and they never want to rock the boat. They never want to do anything to challenge the status quo, and that's not your job. Like, the role of politicians, it's not to like keep shit the same way it is. It's to solve problems,
right?
And they've taken the exact opposite approach, that they won't solve any problems, and they're just going to sit there and tell you why shit needs to stay the same. And it's like when something that like really made it clear for me recently was when Mike Gravel died, and like there was all this talk about him reading the Pentagon Papers into the Senate record and all the things. Like, no politician alive would do that shit. No politician alive will risk their career and their public image to shame and expose the war machine. None of them will do that. So, and again, their job, one of the most crucial functions of their job is to be a check on the military-industrial complex. And if you mean to tell me out of the hundreds of politicians, of 535 people in Congress, and then the president, not a single one of them is willing to just speak negatively about the war machine, and that's just one issue. You go on any issue, it's the same thing. So it's like, what the fuck are you there doing? You just there holding up a seat and just telling everybody why shit just has to stay bad, and we'll make it slightly less bad for some people, but that's the best anybody could hope for.
Yeah, like the celebrification of these politicians is... Okay, perfect. The celebrification of these politicians is something that's really been rich in American history, specifically too in the turn of the 1900s, you know, with like, you know, Herbert Hoover leaving office during the Great Depression. You know, the Hoovervilles, they named them after him because of how like people were living outside in like little makeshift shacks because they couldn't afford anything. They were starving and hungry. Then you had the turn of Roosevelt, who people champion as supposed to be the man of the working people. And then you have the 1950s with Eisenhower, former Allied commander of the United Forces to Europe. He's supposed to be the grandpa that's going to take care of the country. Then you have Kennedy, the Camelot era. You know, so these different types of, you have the 90s with Bill Clinton, sunglasses, saxophone, you know, Reagan movie star in the 80s. It's like the celebrity factor of these politicians really just makes it hard. So I think that's pretty crazy. And what Dontell said too about how Congress's inability to really put a check on the military-industrial complex is something that's really dangerous too, because not only are many Congress people getting kickbacks from many of these corporate industries tied to the military-industrial complex, but also really since the 1950s, Congress has ceded a lot of power to the executive branch in terms of military action. Like I was watching some documentaries back in the old days, around the 60s, and you had to get, and if the executive branch wanted some type of maneuver or some type of military action in another country, you would have to get congressional approval targeted and get voted on by Congress to make those type of moves. And it seems like nowadays, due to like, what's the Patriot Act and many of these other type of acts they do through Congress, really the executive branch now has that power because it's been given to them unilaterally by Congress. So essentially now, if the executive branch and the president wants to bomb a country or set the congressional budget or do many of the powers that Congress has been given under the Constitution that Congress has ceded away to the executive branch, all the president has to do is simply give Congress a notice and say, hey, I'm going to do this. And since Congress has ceded that power away to many of their laws since the last 50 years, it's really impossible for them to do anything, specifically too, since they're the ones who gave the power back in the first place. And since they're tied to these industries, what's the likelihood of them straying away from that corporate money?
Right.
So not only do they use the corporate money to cede power away from Congress to the executive branch, but also too, the corporate industries control the executive branch to exasperate more of these military interventions, while at the same time, those corporate industries use Congress to prevent any laws being made to stop them as well. So it's really a circling firing squad type of effect that the military-industrial complex has on our entire political system. So not only do you have to use Congress to change laws, you actually have to really fight the executive branch to actually stop the military intervention. So I think that's a conversation that I love really having, because you kind of have to go after both Congress and the executive branch to actually make these type of changes. And I left out the Supreme Court too, but the Supreme Court, in terms of these military actions too, they can get a little iffy. But that's just what I know most about Congress and the executive branch.
Yeah, you know, you also got to remember the intelligence, state as well, because the thing is that they have corporate interests as well. And so remember the last president that tried to get rid of the CIA. He's no longer. Yeah. So the thing is that there's also a bit of a fear, because you also have, you know, like for instance, with each one of the presidents, they are also being coached by the Joint Chiefs, because they also have a lot of, you know, corporate interests as far as the sorry, my brain just it goes like that.
No,
Yeah,
mine does that too sometimes.
Yeah, but it's with the military industrial complex, and so because of that, you know, they kind of have almost like a bit of a fear of going up against the military, which they are supposed to be ahead, the chief over. So it's a multi-pronged issue. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I agree with you too. Just to add a point, and then I can let Dontell go, because I know he wanted to talk after JB. One part I missed too is a lot of these ex-Congress people, they do have connections to the CIA, the FBI, the NSA. And like, I know a specific congressperson, AOC, she gave money to ex-CIA agent Elisa Slotkin. So that was pretty fucked. So you're going to have people like that too, that are the extension of the state, to ensure too that they have electoral power. They don't really need it. They can just threaten anybody in Congress, really pull out a folder, an envelope, or whatever, and say, hey, do this or this will come out. But it also too, it helps their cultural narrative, because look at how the Democrats now praise really the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, really the entire intelligence community, because they hate Donnie so much. So you you see that going on right now. So that's just what I wanted to add.
Yeah, nobody likes Donnie.
and like when you lay out how like deep the rot is, and how like intentional the dysfunction is, and the lack of any type of constraint on the military industrial complex, like that has all been through deliberate policy. And it's like the issue of our foreign policy, and the endless wars and the genocide for profit, like it really goes to show you that like these are not good people. Like they aren't making mistakes. It's not like, oops, I slipped and I passed the AUMF and now we're just doing endless wars all over the world.
Whoops-a-daisy.
How did this happen? How could anybody have predicted this? Like, these are all deliberate policies that these politicians went out of their way to create. And like you said, it was because they're taking money from the people who financially benefit from these decisions. So that's what it all comes down to. And people like to act like it's too simplistic to, point to the money in politics and the campaign donations as if, that's
a huge part of the problem.
Yeah, that's it's you can't tell me there's a multi-billion-dollar industry, not just on like the corporate profits, but I mean the money that these corporations are putting back into the politicians, the money that they're spending on campaigns, and the money that they're spending on lobbying and all this shit. It is hundreds of millions of dollars, and over like the decades, it's been billions of dollars. You can't tell me that when they do that, and then we end up following the policies like endless war in Iraq and Afghanistan, longest wars in U.S. history, and there has been at no point has there ever been justification for it. At no point was it ever going well, and 20 years later, these politicians still sign off on these wars every year, they still increase the budget for these wars. What and then of course after the Afghanistan papers came out and showed that yes, in their own words, the words of the people who were running the war, the people at the Pentagon, the people at the State Department, the people at the White House, at the highest levels, saying, yeah, everything we told the public was a fucking lie. We lied about everything. We lied about the civilian casualties. We on purpose. There was a systemic cover-up in the way we counted and reported civilian deaths. We lied about how much money we were spending. We never even knew who we were bombing. We never even knew who the targets were. Imagine that. People running a war for 20 years, dropping bombs on a regular basis, and from back in when the start of the war, they were admitting we don't even know who we're bombing, and they're still doing it 20 years later. You cannot tell me that it's an honest disagreement, and they just have this view on foreign policy that's different from mine. That's why they support. No, this is all of the evidence, not some of the evidence, not half the evidence. All the evidence shows that these wars do nothing productive. They wreak devastation across the world, and the only people who benefit from it are the corporations getting all these contracts from no-bid contracts from the Pentagon and the State Department, and then the politicians who are participating in the revolving door. So it is as corrupt and disgusting as it can possibly be, and it's as clear to anybody paying attention that that's what this is, and it makes it even more disgusting, and it makes it even more inexcusable when you have people who allegedly are anti-imperialist and against the endless wars see all this going on, and they still refuse to call out their colleagues who are who are perpetuating this endlessly.
Yeah, I agree.
Who do we have, though, that claims to be anti-imperialist, though? As I know a couple anti-war people, like I would say Rand Paul would probably classify himself as anti-war. Tulsi Gabbard's probably anti-war. But anti-imperialist?
Yeah, I don't think they're allowed to use the word imperialist like oligarchy. They can't use those two words. That's just not something they can use.
It's bad optics, fam.
It's violence. It's violence.
It is violence.
Is anybody on here from New York about New York? The Cuomo-sexual? Any Cuomo-sexuals
no.
you heard from
that was
lately?
so weird. What the hell were those people? Like, even when that happened, I was like, really? You're Cuomo-sexual? Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
Like, just remember, just like not too long ago, he was like on a cover of magazines.
He was getting
sexy.
an Emmy.
He wrote a book about leadership.
To the pandemic.
He wrote a book. He was murdering people and wrote a book about leadership. This is how I was the leader of murdering people.
And suburban moms thought he was sexy.
Yeah,
that shit.
The funniest, I mean, the whole Cuomo.
It really was wild. First, it was wild watching it in real time because we all knew what the fuck he was doing with COVID, lying about the numbers and sending sick patients to nursing homes and causing all these deaths and shit like that. And people were still like, yeah, Cuomo's so great. Even my mom was saying that shit. And I had every time she said I had to check, I'm like, he's fucking terrible and they lied to you on CNN. Like, he was a fucking horrible governor. As bad as any other governor you can point to, including Ron DeSantis here in Florida, but it was just the way that he was portrayed in the media. And like, so, I mean, it's just weird to me that this is what it took to get him to resign because, again, like a bunch of people fucking dying directly as a result of your policy, like that wasn't enough. Like all,
and isn't it? It's like thousands.
Thousands. Yeah,
thousands of people died because of what he did, and nobody's even talking about. And that's not to say I'm not like trying to diminish what he actually like ended up resigning for. He absolutely should be held accountable for that as well. I don't mean to diminish that.
Talking about one doesn't do. Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
It's a little weird that we're talking about the one and not talking about the fact that he's responsible for like the deaths of thousands of people.
Yeah,
listen.
You want to talk about being anti-science? I can't think of anything to undermine the credibility of the public health institutions than when you have the governor literally manipulating the data and going to the public health officials and telling them to lie on the data. Like, you want to talk about why people are skeptical of the government in the middle of COVID? That should be the number one reason. He out of any governor, I can't think of a Republican governor who's caught so red-handed undermining public trust in the middle of a pandemic.
So, look, I'm going to say this. I lost a family member because of COVID because she caught it when she was at a nursing home. Okay.
Same here.
So, yeah. So with people like Cuomo, he deserves to be in an orange jumpsuit in prison for what he did.
Yes.
The fact that there was any tolerance whatsoever shows how deeply propagandized we are. And part of the blame I place squarely on C because they could have went after him, but because of his brother being one of their top anchors, they decided to take a back seat on that. So they are complicit. Now, thankfully, my family member, she didn't live in New York, but if she had, then it would have happened anyway in New York. So and this whole thing about Cuomo sexual and all that stupid crap. Look, the I don't even know if this is a word, but the sycophancy of it all, because people are so propagandized to think Democrat good, Republican bad, that they fail to look at anybody from an objective standpoint and see how terrible they really are. And you also got to remember, Cuomo is basically an object of nepotism because
Is that
his father, Mario
Mm-hmm.
Cuomo, was the former governor, and now he's the governor. And next thing you know, Chris Cuomo will probably be doing something big as well too. And so you see the corruption for what it is. There's no difference. I see Andrew Cuomo as no different than a Jared Kushner. So people need to start looking at it in that way. And it's funny that this is coming up because I had a friend. Well, we're no longer friends anymore, unfortunately, but he became a QAnon supporter. I know, and he was pro-Trump, and I said something about Mario Cuomo. I'm sorry, Andrew Cuomo, same person. Anyway,
Pretty much, yeah.
pretty much. But as I was talking about him, because I'm thinking, okay, so he's basically gone right wing, so he should agree with me. He started defending Andrew Cuomo as a Trump supporter. So that already told me, okay, something's up with this guy. So it just goes to show that, yeah, they're all part of the same club, and there's the whole lot of them need to be marooned on a desert island and then just airshipped food, once a month.
They're all super creepy, and they all need to learn that you don't get to just touch whoever you want to touch whenever you want to touch them. They're creepy little fucks. You know what I mean? Like Joe Biden, the way that he's physically inappropriate with children makes my skin crawl. It's disgusting. The fact that that man was elected president of the United States with the video footage we have. It's not like he hides it.
Right.
He's on camera numerous times. I don't know how anybody can watch those videos and not be thoroughly disgusted. He is at best physically inappropriate with little girls.
I think interesting enough, before Cuomo even resigned, 2 or 3 days before, he decided to release a written statement outlining why he did what he did wasn't what it seemed. But also what's very interesting is towards the end of that written statement, he showed multiple images of Joe Biden with inappropriate contact with other individuals. So in a way, it was to obfuscate from his own bad relations to try to say,
I guarantee you, like 98% of the men in power do that. I guarantee you.
You think he did that because Joe Biden said, "Yeah, I think he should resign"? He said that. Yeah.
Well,
can you imagine being Joe Biden though and having the balls to say you should resign? Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! You resign.
Interesting, man. I'm telling you, petty.
And you guys bring up a great point about like the media too, because this story, it does such a great job of highlighting the power that the media has. Because if they aside from the massacre of people in New York from COVID, if they chose to focus on this one issue that forced him out, if they decided to like actually provide scrutiny to it and be adversarial as they should be, he probably would have been forced to resign a long time ago. But like these things happen, and everybody just kind of just sweep it under the rug, and it just so happened like now with the political pressure, and it became like the story just wasn't leaving the news cycle. Like it just kept coming up. It kept one person after the next. Then it was the Attorney General's report. Like then I think the media just kept having to talk about it, and it became untenable for anybody to try to like defend Andrew Cuomo on this. So on the issue of like the sexual harassment, like if they cared about that at all and provided scrutiny on that, they would have a big impact on like people like Joe Biden. Maybe Joe Biden couldn't have won the primary if people were actually focused on this very public and like brazen creepiness from Joe Biden with kids. Like it's
distressing.
Yeah, I think he cut out a little bit.
He did.
Yeah, and fun fact, when JB mentioned Mario Cuomo, back in the 1980s when Jesse Jackson was going against Mike Dukakis for the Democratic nominee, there were talks back in the 80s in the Democratic Party that if Mike Dukakis didn't beat out Jesse Jackson, then guess who they were thinking about cheating with to replace Jesse Jackson with? Mario Cuomo. Same talks that happened in 2020 with basically Joe Biden. I feel it's pretty interesting though about really how Andrew Cuomo played himself. Is that back when Joe Biden was tanking, when even the rich assholes was like, this guy's a fucking loser. And they were begging Andrew Cuomo, oh, please, Cuomo, please, we'll do anything. And Cuomo's like, I don't want to be president. It's not my thing. And then like literally a year later, they go, we got our guy now. We don't need you. Fuck off. So he literally played himself.
Yeah.
Just wanted to get that out of the way. And what's also too about this Andrew Cuomo situation, you see a lot of people who say they're left or even like liberal really expose themselves with these tweets they're getting about the homosexuals. Like really Emma Vigilant's tweet, like that was very
so
annoying. Even Bakari Seller is going to say, well, see, aren't you guys happy now we have Cuomo during really the early beginning of COVID? Like, see, this is why we're happy we have Cuomo instead of Zephyr Teachow. Like Bakari Sellers literally said that. And this is the person that Nina wants to work with in her campaign with Bakari Sellers. So that's...
Dude,
exactly.
What was she thinking? What was she thinking? Oh my God, when I saw her do that video with Bakari Sellers, I'm like, what is she thinking?
Look at JB.
Go on, JB. Tell us about it.
Really? Bakari?
Right?
The mini Andrew Gillum?
Yeah.
You went with Bakari?
Yeah,
really?
He does.
Come on.
No, but that that is why do you even want?
You know better.
What do you think you get from that? What do you get from that? You like?
What do you get from that? Y'all tell me. What do you get for that? What is that? What is that? Oh.
That's it. I'm gone.
Fuck it. Show's over. Done fucked it up. No, but seriously. And then like even like Ted Lieu, she like bragged about Ted Lieu.
What did he say? What did Ted Lieu say?
He endorsed Nina Turner. And she like bragged all about it and had like a graphic up and like, really? It's Ted fucking Lieu. This is no.
Terrible.
Come on, man.
Ted Lieu is such a loser. Like he's one of those like resistance people back.
He's a Russiagator, but Nina was a Russiagator, so I mean, I guess shouldn't be too surprised. But at least she wasn't super loud about it. Like she had her Russiagate shit that she said a couple times here and there, but she wasn't like actively pushing it.
Yeah, to the point to where I wasn't even aware till somebody told me that. I think it was a couple of months ago. Like I hadn't even heard anything about that until a couple months ago.
Yeah, and see, honestly, and what's interesting enough about Russiagate is that specifically, once again, in my extended family, Russiagate is still a phenomenon that is believed by many people. Yes,
Oh, it's so crazy. And it's so crazy that that's the number of times it's been debunked.
Yeah,
And
they have to only look at
really-
MSNBC. They can't even look at CNN. Do CNN even talk about it still? I don't know, but I know MSNBC.
I don't know. I don't watch.
No, they're still on
mainstream media.
January 6th. I've watched like
Oh my
literally Don
God,
Lemon
man,
every
January
night is
6th.
like January 6th.
Then
it ties into.
I don't know
I love
what
that
the
you
fuck to
hate
tell
watch
anybody
this
who
shit.
still believe that shit.
I know.
And somebody said, one of you guys were making a point earlier about like it's not even like we're disagreeing. Like we all agree on the facts, but we just came to a different conclusion. Like we aren't even operating anywhere near like with the same amount, like the same facts. And we're like the reality that we live in is diverted so bad that like I don't even know how I could try to convince somebody like how much of a hoax and a sham the whole Russiagate shit is. Like they are in a completely different reality.
Seriously, they really do operate in a completely different. That's 100% accurate because, again, this has been debunked numerous times throughout numerous different ways. I mean, like every aspect, every angle of Russiagate.
Right. But the people they trust, like Rachel Maddow, like Don Lemon, don't laugh too hard. Like Don Lemon, they are still saying it.
I know.
So they trust them, and it's just But
here's another thing that people don't know, though. There are two different lawsuits, one from Tucker Carlson and one from Rachel Maddow, where the court found that both audiences of those two shows know that this isn't news. It's like their opinion and it's dramatized and it's all of this stuff. But that's not actually the case. A lot of people take Rachel Maddow very seriously.
Yes.
And they think she's speaking the truth and they think they're informing themselves and they're not. And that's why like the fight against mainstream like the mainstream narratives, the mainstream news, all of that stuff, it's so vital because it's the front line for everything else. If you want to fight for anything else, we have to effectively combat people like Rachel Maddow and MSNBC and CNN and the fight for narrative control is like so much of everything. It really is. I mean, I talk about the just healthcare as an example. That Wendell Potter guy, he's a whistleblower, and he used to write propaganda for health insurance lobby, like for health insurance companies, about the Canadian healthcare system. So he was misleading the American public about the Canadian healthcare system, and that's I mean, it's like that for everything that we want to fight for or against. Narrative control is a huge part of that battle. So
I agree 100%. Like back in the fall of 2018, when I was a shit lib, I used to watch all these shows. I used to watch Rachel Maddow. I used to I used to watch Jake Tapper. I literally still have it on my playlist. I just don't watch it. But I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna name all of them I used to watch. Literally on air right now.
Calling himself out now.
Yeah. I do this all the time. I do this all the time.
Like
I brag about this because I tell people.
What's the other guy? Not Chris Cuomo, but the other guy. What's
there's
that guy?
Chris Hayes. There's Lawrence. Lawrence O'Donnell.
The shows I used to watch is I used to fucking love Bill Maher. I used to fucking love Cuomo. Let's see. There's Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, Rachel Maddow, Anderson Cooper, Wolf Blitzer. I used to listen to Trevor Noah, Jake Tapper, all these people. And that was back in 2018. So I was pure shit lib. Like you don't understand how big of a shit lib I was.
I had no idea it was that bad.
RJ, on my DVR every day, I had the two shows I thought was the top shows was Chris Matthews and Rachel Maddow. I would watch O'Donnell. I would watch even the older the guy that's the Brian Williams, the liar, that guy. I would watch him. Like at the end of the night, I literally had like 6 hours of MSNBC on my DVR every day, and I would watch it. And I literally thought I was informed. I was waiting for a Republican to say something to me. I'll be like, wait a minute, I got this, this information. Needless to now, I understand that I was just misinformed.
Oh, like I understand with you, like CJ, like 2017, 2018, during my my extreme shit lib phase, how I used to like get my news about Russiagate was through Rachel Maddow. I used to listen to the Rachel Maddow podcast every fucking night.
I'm glad I didn't know you then. We probably wouldn't be friends.
No.
Yeah. But the reason why, like, I think it's a good thing in hindsight why I watched all that stuff, because I know how the propaganda is. I know how to talk to people who are propagandized.
Yes.
I know where they're coming from. If I can speak with them in a language in which they'll understand and convert them to the left, but before you convert them to left, you don't want them to be left-wing shit libs. You actually want them to be debunked from their shit libbery and propaganda, and then move them to the left. So in a way, I can actually really kind of really make this deep propaganda in America less by actually talking with them in that way. So like during the Rachel Maddow phase, I used to I said this before, too, going through Russiagate. I used to listen to most I listened to Rachel Maddow was during the time when like it was announced that the Democrats in the House like are finally announcing the articles of impeachment, and Rachel Maddow did like a 3-week segment on like comparing the impeachment of like Donald Trump and Russiagate to like Watergate back in the 1970s, and she did like an entire like fucking series, but I listened to it all, so I'm really ashamed about it now. But like, it's ridiculous.
You'll never get that time back.
I wasn't on Twitter then, but I watched the stuff, and then I would go write and Facebook it, write some stuff. Yeah, we have a spy in the White House. Like I was really demented. Like I was gone. Now that
really?
I would fake. Yeah, we have a spy. You guys watching this stuff? But the thing about me, mid Russiagate, is when I start to say this doesn't seem.
What
right.
was it for you? Like for both of you, that made you like.
It wasn't Russiagate. It was just everything. Like just everything happening. Stuff was happening to Bernie. I can't remember where we were during the Russiagate with Bernie or in the campaign.
Oh, that was 2 days before the Nevada caucuses.
Okay, then it was Bernie, like the treatment he was getting, watching MS. I was like, if they're lying to me about this Russiagate stuff may be like not on the up and up. And that's what to me, and then I got on Twitter, or maybe I had been on Twitter for a few weeks, and then I started hearing other voices. And then that's when I kind of started, because I didn't get on Twitter to do politics. I just was like, this is a social media that I'm not sickened by, because I was sickened by Facebook, and so let me go here. And that's why I went, and then I discovered this stuff, and discovered my real opinions.
I think we all like have our moment. I think Misty is probably, she's been turned off of mainstream media longer than all of us, myself included. But I think that
I haven't watched mainstream media other than Jimmy Dore clips since like 2007, probably.
Yeah,
damn.
She's been wised up for a while. I respect that. But it does.
I'm also older than y'all.
So I mean, you had time to get there before us, but I'm glad we're all there now. So, but it brings up an important like debate. Like, so what do we do about it? Because is it worth our time to like cater our create content specifically to try to like reason with people drunk on MSNBC or CNN, or should we just make good content, relatable content that anybody could come across and be like, oh, that person makes sense? Because I've seen a lot of people still, it honestly makes me cringe when I see people in like left new media doing a bunch of videos about like something, some fucking idiot on CNN, or like a million videos on Fox. Like, who is that for? So like, what do you guys
it's like okay, so I find they're like reaction videos, right? Like and I love reaction videos. There's nothing I love more than watching young kids react to Rage Against the Machine for the first time. It's glorious. I love it. It's my favorite new thing to do. But like I don't want like a reaction politics show. Like I can formulate my own opinion. I don't need you to watch somebody else's opinion and then give your opinion about their opinion. Like I don't give a shit about that. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's weird. Like it's not even it's not news. It's just like repackaging essentially.
But the thing is with the brainwashing, I'm piggybacking off what you're saying. I had a thought is like for my mom, for example, she doesn't have any other outlet but this corporate poison. Like what else is she gonna get? And they know that. Like they like no other options but crap. Like literally, like it's either CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or one of the local stations that's owned by the same three people I just named. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like it's the same. So it's like if for a person who doesn't use a medium like YouTube or use a medium like they literally have no other options but to listen to corporate media. So if they're just trying to learn about anything, Like, they're not even partisan. I just want to know what country was bombed today. She has no other option to go to but a corporate slanted view option. You get what I'm saying? Like, what do those people do?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Me specifically with my family, I've ruined mainstream media for them because every day I'm like, are you seriously listening to this? This isn't true. The Democrats and Republicans are the same. So I'm the spoiler. So I ruined that for them. And so to get back to Misty's point too about when I knew Russiagate was BS, that was actually kind of right when the Mueller report dropped, and you start reading the details about how Mueller didn't even follow the money at all. So that was
he didn't even interview Julian Assange. Not one time. Julian Assange offered multiple times to participate in the investigation, and he didn't want to interview him one time. Hello.
Yeah, then Rachel Maddow actually did like shows explaining how Mueller kind of got it wrong and how her interpretation of the details are different. I'm like, you're such full of shit. And then Rachel Maddow, literally the next day after the Mueller report dropped, she lost 40% of her audience. She went from the most watched person in news to like 4th overnight. So which was crazy. And to really get back to CJ's point too about what you can do to really find different outlets. I'm still struggling. Like when I present information to my family about politics, I kind of say, hey, I know I'm right. You can do the research yourself, or I give them links. And so like, just so you can understand the type of news sources they get, like I have family that listens to the Daily Caller. I have some that still, I have some that listen to who read the Wall Street Journal. So this is like terrible news sources to get their information from. So I'm still working on debunking that. But it seems like I get one thing done and I'm happy, and then a whole nother shitlib avenue creates. So it's just
you know what I learned
terrible.
today, RJ, what you just did? Like, you went through trauma the first time when you learned they were looking at this, and then every time you recall it, you relive the trauma. So you're like, oh, she listens to Wall Street Journal. Like, good Lord, like, you're reliving that trauma. So I learned that today, how you can relive it. Humans can do that because just by thinking of it.
Yeah, because I have like debate. Who was talking? JB?
Yeah, I just want to say, CJ, don't you just want to give RJ a hug right now?
Yeah, no, if you were like, oh.
I kind of relish in being really the bad person because I'm actually proud of how, like, I know I'm not as far as left as I should be because there's so much stuff I don't know and I'm relatively new. So I'm always learning. So like, even with you guys, when I'm challenged on a point, I don't get offended because maybe it's something I don't know and I'm always willing to learn. So that's about me on the left. Like even like a year ago when I first joined Twitter, I would say something to ethos and people say, that's not really true. And here's links and resources to my point. Or here's why you're half right, but you're missing some details. I believe that's what was the most beautiful thing about part of the left a year ago before really all this craziness started, is that people can have rational and civil debates online and then walk away from it instead of smearing each other personally. So I think
those debates are still going on, just not with the accounts like ours, with the accounts that are like 5,000, 6,000, just not those accounts. They're not just accounts underneath. They're still having regular debates and disagreeing cordially. They're still doing that.
Yeah, well, I need a better timeline then. You see fights all the time,
Well, I mean, what the problem is, and I don't know, but like I just get a lot of stupid trolls. There's a lot of I think it's just gotten a lot worse over the past, I don't know, like year or so, and I think it's only going to continue to get worse. Like everybody can hire a troll bot farm, it's ridiculous, and they're everywhere, and their whole purpose is to start fights and keep people divided and all that stuff. So
I don't know much about troll bots and farms. I just hear about it. So there's companies where you literally can purchase troll, like have a troll bots go. And what do you tell the bots to do?
I don't know. I've never never hired one.
I'm just asking. Like I've never.
You can buy followers.
You can look like a PR company or like people running campaigns. They do it all the time. Like they have so you could make a computer program and like have it automated response to like anytime somebody tweets a certain thing, or you can have like actual people controlling different accounts and they just like follow like the big names left Twitter, like Misty or like Nick or whatever, and from all the different troll accounts, and like whenever they say anything about the Democratic Party, they all just jump in. So it is like some like actual coordinated like
yeah, like a
strategy.
non-user in the chat just said that David Brock did it. David Brock in the 2016 campaign had a $1 million troll farm for Hillary Clinton. So I mean,
I like the comment. I like the comment in the chat that said troll farms are job creation.
that's so funny.
Yeah.
There we go. See, look at that. Democrats are creating jobs. Good job, guys.
JV.
We did it.
Yeah, the only time they'll create a job is if they can shit on the left with it.
Real talk.
What do you think, JB?
Yeah, I see what's going on, and it's just a ploy to tamp down the left at every turn that they can get. And what they're doing is they see the writing on the wall. And by that, what they mean is because of the failures of capitalism, people are becoming more disillusioned with it. So they're moving more people to the left. Capitalism is actually doing some of our job for us because they're showing how bad it really is. And because of that, now there's a panic going on. You see a lot of, even if it economically left and socially left, the ideas are being fought against. Here in Florida, you have people like Ron DeSantis that are making critical race theory illegal, but also he's wanting to, stamp down on people, doing actual protests. And so they see the writing on the wall as our younger generation becoming more disillusioned with it. They see especially the Gen Zs, because those of us who are millennial, we're like, wait a minute, you guys lied to us. And now we're channeling that anger, as fully grown adults. But now the Gen Zs who are, college students like RJ and, the older teenagers are now also seeing, and we're communicating to them that they've been lied to and that this is all a farce. And we're also deeply far removed, the Gen Zs especially are deeply far removed from the Red Scare. And so for them, it's like, China's just a country. I don't understand what's so wrong. Or Russia's just a country and I don't understand what's wrong. And so because of that, now you see a lot of the boomers and older people are going, oh my God, they're going to become communist or they're going to become socialist. And we're not as affected by the propaganda.
Well, yeah, because the younger generation gets their news online, and so that's the difference.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good point. Like they know that their days are numbered, and because no matter how you spin it, the way that shit used to work when the internet was created, all of that went out the window, and people have not been able to really wrap their minds around it yet. But for the first time in human history, the establishment and the powers that be, they don't have complete control over the narrative.
They don't.
And the internet, as long as it is possible for people to do what we do and create content debunking the mainstream narrative, people are going to find it. And when they find it, it's going to open their mind, and you cannot put that cat back in the bag. So they're going balls to the wall, and they really, like JP said, they're in a fucking panic. That's why they're pulling out all the stops with the censorship and trying to bury independent content creators and all the, like, they're doing everything they can to limit the discourse, because when you have groups of regular people talking about their experience and how the policies and the institutions have failed them, and then you get a bunch of people saying it's not just you, this me too, and it's happening to everybody else, it is just moving us in a direction closer towards political revolution. And to me, I think I really do believe it's inevitable. And you can may say maybe I'm naive or I'm too optimistic. I really do think it's inevitable that there's going to be a political revolution. And literally the only thing that's going to stop it is if they just shut the internet down and they make it so that regular people can't and
Uh-oh.
I was gonna say, I think they will. I think the government would do something like that. I think they would shut down the internet so that we are not able to organize. I mean, if it got to the point where we're out in the streets, where millions of people are out in the streets and they're trying to control the millions of people, they would absolutely shut down our communication. They do that now with protests. They have the little cell phone jammers. They do that now. So they would absolutely do that.
I think JB brought up a good point too about the divide amongst older generations of Americans, or mature, to be more professional and not be mean, versus really Gen Z. Is, you know, and once, not to throw my family under the bus, but like that's the only reference I have. But like,
don't show them this video. Don't show them this video.
But the conversations we usually have about how young people feel about the system, not only of America but of capitalism, is completely different from really some parts of the older generation, because they kind of feel it as an attack on them at times, and also attack on really the ideology of capitalism. Like I have debates with family members and even regular peoples about that. They misconstrue the textbook version of what they teach you at the school about what capitalism is and what economics is versus the actual reality. So when you actually debunk them with facts about how the system of capitalism is an epic failure and the effects that it has on really American citizens and really international people abroad, it's easier to fight back against. But you even see with like the Democratic primary back in 2020, even in 2016, the ability that the establishment has to weaponize fear to really keep some parts of the older generation who are liberal or conservative in line to really protect their own interests. It's amazing how those same people believe that capitalism and these rich people have their best interests at heart when it's truly not. So that's really something that scares me. Like I know some people who are pro Amazon, who are pretty much happy with Bezos, saying that Bezos had a great idea, and you know, saying they were, you know, happy that the Bessemer Amazon Union Drive kind of collapsed. So it's that type of like extreme neoconism in some parts of people is really what's embarrassing. In some parts you can't debunk. Like it's very hard. It's going to take forever. So I'm really happy to see like really younger generations of Americans still really punching hard at the apple to really try to debunk those who are older with facts, or even just convert them at all and depropagandize. I like to use the term depropagandize instead of debunk, because that's actually a better phrasing for it. So that's actually what I'm kind of really happy with seeing, because we're going to really need something like that to move forward.
And like similar to that, for me, and it kind of gets back to like the debate about, should we like try to make content that caters to them? I honestly think anybody who's still, or a good chunk of the people who are still watching mainstream media, like you guys said earlier, it's because they don't have the option of anything else. I really do believe that when these people come across new media, or a couple of different new media hosts, they're going to see the picture. They're going to see how like lied to they've been by the mainstream media, and it's just going to like our numbers are just going to keep growing. That's why I'm very like, yes, the censorship, it does scare the shit out of me, definitely, especially in the short term. But like all of these people, like this whole audience and all these different hosts that keep growing and expanding. Just keep in mind, like this project, this new media project, is only like maybe a decade old. So this is the kind of impact that we're having, like in the very beginning. And like I said, the internet is not going away anytime soon. So imagine how much reach we would have in another 10 years or 15 years. Like that's what I'm saying. Like,
well, that's if we're effective in fighting back against the censorship, because right now they are taking control over the internet. I mean, the algorithm alone is destroying smaller channels, and then you add the demonetization on top of that, and now you have Jen Psaki talking about, well, if you get banned from one social media platform, you should just be banned from all of them. And you know, they're really seeking to take control over all of the sources of information. Every outlet, they want to have complete control over Facebook. Yeah, it's like we're in a really dangerous position right now because that's what they're seeking to gain, and not enough people are fighting against it.
And I do think that there needs to be some sort of organized pushback, because as it is right now, there is literally no pushback to it, and they're writing the rules for the internet for the rest of history, and we, like the people, the public, don't even have a say in it. And I think it's become an untenable position, like you said with the algorithm. It is all powerful, and nobody has a say in how it's written and how it's used, other than the oligarchs in this country. And I don't know how. I don't know if it's going to take like some major court case with like independent content creators against tech giants. I don't know if it's going to take like some type of public pressure campaigns on the politicians that are supposed to be regulating this. But I know in the short term there needs to be something to address this, and if we don't address it, my long term prediction, it gets a little more hazy.
Okay, so I want to make a prediction right now, and this is based on this is based on what we're seeing at the moment and what will transpire within the next year to 2 years. So, what are we collectively doing right now? We're speaking the truth out into the ether, right? And it's going to hit some ears. You got to remember, number one, Misty and you, Dontell, you guys are going to blow up. Why do I say that? Number one, we're in an off election year. So they haven't even gotten to you yet because a lot of people haven't heard you yet. And so when they hear, they're going to say, wait a minute, this person is just speaking the truth. They're not being, maneuvered by any type of corporate entity, because people can tell. And so the threat is going to be the popularity, because as you continue to keep speaking that truth to power, people are going to be like, yes, this is what I've been looking for. The powers that be are going to notice it. And I think, now this is just me, I think that once that's going to catch on, they're going to be a little late, but they're going to catch on, and then they're going to try something. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be a little too late, because then the people are going to be like, wait. No. You're not going to do this, because we just found these people, and now we want more of this. Mm-hmm. Because if you look, like, okay, so unfortunately, I was with my mom, and she was watching ABC, so she was watching Good Morning America. And in my mind, as I was looking at it, I was like, who in the hell still watches this? and so I come to find out a lot of liberal moms, a lot of, conservative, people who stay at home, and a lot of people who are the, elder generation of boomers. They're the ones who are watching that. But guess what? A majority who are the elder generation, they're going. Like, my mom is turning 70, so a lot of them aren't going to be there anymore. So this is really important. What we're doing right now is to keep this up, so that when they do find us, and they will, then it's going to create a bigger army of people who, I hate to use the word resist, but they'll resist this type of censorship. #resist. This type of censorship, that we are experiencing and have been experiencing well over the last couple of years.
This is why I wish like independent media would stick together more, because there's strength in numbers. Yeah. And yes. Like the way that like Matt Orfalea got his shit fucked with, and so like everybody should have Matt on their shows and talk about it and get it out to everybody's audience and stand behind him and get on Twitter and demand that his stuff be reinstated or whatever happens. Or if that happens to you guys, then we all need to like jump in and start throwing punches and fight back, like as a unit. If we all come at them as a unit, And there's a whole, but that's why I love that, like, we all big up each other, and like, there's a coalition building. And I think that we need to grow that even more, because the more people that we have when something like that happens, that can stand up and be like, no, fuck you, give us our stuff back. I think that that's going to be a lot more beneficial for everybody, really.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree with both of you on that. And like that point that JB was making about, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what new rule it is that they're going to impose. I don't know whose channel it is they're going to take down. But there's going to be a line. This is the way I'm kind of seeing it too. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a line, and people are going to get the gravity of the situation, that the internet isn't free anymore. And I don't mean like by like paying it. It should be free, but that's a different discussion. The internet isn't like how it used to be, where you can say what you want. It's really, you're only allowed to say certain things, and if you don't, you get removed. And there's gonna be something. I can't predict the future, but there's gonna be a line, because the internet is too big and it's too important, and it's too in people's faces. But for like this to continue down this path, and everybody to just not notice. And I think that a lot of people haven't noticed it now, because mainly because they aren't exposed to like independent news online. But especially once they do get exposed to us, but just maybe in their regular life, there's going to be a point where the censorship gets to be scary. And,
yeah, well, we're already there, in my opinion.
Like one of the things that pushes it over the edge, because like you said, the Jen Psaki talking about, if now the White House is literally, and we already know Facebook, Apple, and Twitter, and all of these oligarchs, they will get in a room whenever they feel like, and they will conspire like a cabal and decide this topic or this person is out of bounds, and we're going to remove them from the internet. They did that with QAnon, they did it with Alex Jones, and they did it with Trump. They did it with Stop the Steal. So we know that they already do it. But
look what they did with Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and the Ukraine story.
The Hunter Biden story. But now we have the White House, from the press secretary from the podium, saying we are coordinating to make it so that if you get banned on one platform, you're banned everywhere. So I really do think like I don't know if it is going to be COVID, but something like this is gonna be the catalyst.
They're already doing it with COVID. If you even say like a certain thing about COVID, or if you mention ivermectin or whatever, there's a possibility that you get, at least maybe a strike, or maybe your video gets demonetized or whatever, and then your extreme content, or you get taken down for disinformation or misinformation or whatever. And who's fucking deciding what's misinformation? Nobody gets to decide that for me. I should be allowed to have all of the information, and then I'll make up my mind what I think is right and what is not. That's how it works. You don't get to like force feed me reality. That's not, I don't want any part of that whatsoever. And it's really dangerous where we're at right now.
Interesting too. Did you guys see that clip I saw on Twitter of like Ryan Grimm and some other lady on the Hill? They were interviewing
Kim Iverson.
Kim Iverson.
Yeah, she's been guest hosting. I can't believe that they're letting her, but yeah,
they had a guest on talking about like the effective. I don't want to actually. I don't actually get into it.
I just said it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're actually talking about it in that clip, and it was actually very interesting how she was really talking about the effectiveness of the vaccines, because Ryan Grimm and others were saying if you get the vaccine and stuff, like it reduces like the spread and type of stuff, and the guest was on there says, well, that's not 100% accurate. If you actually look at the data, not what CDC says, the numbers and evidence says otherwise. And I've been seeing a lot of clips like that from like other doctors and stuff that's not connected to the CDC.
No, they're not. You're not getting. They're fucking with everybody, and they do it. They do it all the time, and then they get mad when people don't trust what they're telling you. Right. Well, it's because you all lie all the fucking time. You lie constantly about everything. How many times did they get to lie to you before your sense of skepticism kicks in? I don't believe. Like, my starting position is they're lying, and then I move on from there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like that's where we're at with our government. So stop getting mad at people who are vaccine hesitant, or who are like confused about what COVID is, that they don't. It's not their fault. It's the fact that we have there's zero trust in our government or our institutions. Zero. That's a problem. Like that should be, you're asking these people to take vaccines from people who have a history of fucking shit up. like hardcore and this is their health. You're asking them to take a vaccine when these are like they used to put like arsenic in their baby powder or whatever the fuck that was that Johnson & Johnson did.
Johnson,
yeah. That, I mean, come on, you can't. It's okay if you're frustrated with those people, but why don't you spend a little bit of that time and effort being mad at the fact that that's the situation where we find ourselves, where we can't. It is that easy to distrust your government and your institutions. That's the problem, not the people who are skeptical. They have reason to be skeptical. Like, I mean, Jesus, it's not like we don't have like an unbelievable amount of history of them using like vaccines for like nefarious purposes. We know what happens. So, there's just not a lot of effort spent. People are very surface level thinkers. They'll just be mad at the people who are hesitant, and they're not like, they don't go deeper than that and find the reason for the, the distrust. So it's
a lot of those same people who get mad at those vaccine hesitant people were vaccine hesitant when Donald Trump was talking about the vaccine coming out. They were vaccine hesitant.
Yeah, there's like a whole
we don't know
montage.
We're going to be in this, and we got to make sure this vaccine. It's the same vaccine. It's the same company.
Yeah.
So
and there's like a whole montage of elected officials talking about how that they're hesitant, and now they want it, and it's the hypocrisy. Like Rashida Tlaib like goes off on Rand Paul about not wearing a mask, and then she's videoed at a wedding dancing with no mask. It's like the hypocrisy there. You don't understand why people don't trust you. Really? You don't get that. You don't understand why people might be pissed off about that when you've completely disrupted their lives, and then you're at a wedding dancing the night away. I mean, you don't understand why that would piss people off. It's just a complete disconnect from reality. It's unbelievable.
I didn't see that video. No, she wasn't twerking or nothing like that.
No, but she was dancing and like hugging people at a wedding with nobody had masks on. And this
did
was
she
like
say anything about it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Explained herself?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think it was just today. But yeah, like she just gone off on Rand Paul about some things that he said about like not wanting to wear masks. And it's like, yeah, really? Oh, it's so frustrating. Anyway, we got to wrap up because we always try to get Sleepy out of here at 9. He's probably got another show coming up, I'm sure. Yeah. So do you guys want to tell everybody where they can find your shows, what time they're on, and all that stuff? Do you want to start, JB?
Okay. You guys can find me on Fred Hampton Leftist, and you can find me on the JB Show. I always do my shows on Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Actually, I'll be having Ron Placone on this Sunday.
Yay.
And so we'll be discussing something that he is excited about. I'm not going to tell you guys.
You're such a tease.
Yeah, I know. That's what they all tell me. But you guys can also find me on Twitter at JBFont. That's basically, y'all see it.
Yeah, it's up there. It's there. You can find him there. Cool. Who's next? Dontell, you want to go?
So,
see there?
Yeah, Dontell.
Oh, sorry.
You're muted. You were muted. Yep.
So yeah, you guys can all find me at youtube.com/unapologetic. You can just type in unapologetic in the search bar. Hopefully it'll pop up. I'm on Twitter at unapologeticyt. I will be recording right after I get done with this, and there will be some uploads tonight. I'll also confirmed my appearance on the Convo Couch. I think it's gonna be the first time on the Convo Couch. I will be on next Monday. I have so much stuff that I want to write on Substack. So find me on Substack at Unapologetic. The links to all of that stuff's in my YouTube, on my Twitter. Thank you for having me on, Misty. It was great.
Yeah, of course. Okay, RJ.
Okay, you could find me on Twitter at Comrade Curls. Usually, if you see the curls, you know it's me. You can catch me out at Frampton Leftist. My show Revolutionary Jargon on there as well. This Friday, don't really have a guest plan. I'm probably just gonna do news stories and talk to the audience.
Do Assange.
Oh, yes, yes, I'll do Assange too. Thank you. So I'll be covering that and other news stories that pique my interest.
Cool, CJ.
Yeah, nothing, no guest plan yet. I kind of do my guests a day or two before, but check out the live stream I did with Misty earlier today, and the one I did with, I call him the professor, but Zunkas, Professor Anthony Zunkas, talking about the trauma from capitalism, actually. So this is something you would want to listen. He did a TED talk actually, and it's late, and they didn't demonetize this, believe it or not, and it's called how capitalism negatively impacts poor or people in poverty, something like that. Yeah. So we brought him on, talked about that, talked about the Julian Assange. If you don't know a lot about Julian Assange, watch the live stream where Misty breaks it down from the beginning. She kind of goes over everything. So check that out. Other than that, Wednesdays, you can catch me, Fred Hampton Leftist, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, and also again at 7:30 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday.
Cool. And yeah, if you do watch that stream, he's being very nice and generous, but actually I was going to try to be like all educational and like walk everybody through WikiLeaks and like what, and I, just because of the news from today, I even had notes so I could like keep myself on track. So I'm like reading my notes and then something got brought up that set me off and then it was a rant fest. So he's being very nice, but it was basically just a rant fest of me just being pissed off because today I'm just pissed off. Like there's a lot to be pissed off about. So yeah. Other than that, for me, let's see, the GoFundMe, because we're going to go to DC in September to raise shit about Assange. We're going to have another one for October 23rd and 24th. So there's that. Make sure that you're writing to Commander X and Craig Murray. Do not write to Daniel Hale yet because he's going to be moving probably this week to a different location. But you can still email or write to Craig Murray. And let me think. Daniel has the billboard campaign for North Carolina, so everybody can donate to that if you want. And I think that's all. Oh, and then next week on Bitch, next Wednesday, we're going to have Christine Olivio on. So that's going to be fun because she's like a candidate and I'm like not into electoral politics, but I love her. So I think it's going to be fun. She actually came out to our Assange protests in January, I think is the ones that she came out to. And that was really cool of her. So I always have, I may not agree with electoral politics, but if a candidate's willing to come out for Julian Assange, then I respect that. So that's who we have coming up next week. Facts on the ground. So I went on one of my crazy booking sprees, but there's like 95 interviews booked right now. So there's going to be a lot of content coming. So keep your eyes out for that. And yeah, I think that's all I have. So thanks everybody for coming on. This was a great conversation. You guys are welcome back anytime, obviously. If you have something you want to pitch or not pitch, but promote or whatever, just let me know and I'll, help you guys push all your stuff out and all that good stuff. So thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, Sleepy Josh. Oh yeah, don't forget to donate to Sleepy Josh too. Go to his Twitter at abortu, ABORTU. He has a buy me a coffee link there. You can click on that and then buy him a coffee because he's amazing. Couldn't do it without him. And yeah, that's it. That's all I have. So we'll see you next week, guys. Bye.